We are honored now to be joined by State Senator Troy Singleton, the State Senate majority. That's the Democratic Party whip. Good to see you, Senator.
Good to be seen, my friend.
Absolutely. Senator, let me ask you this. The issue of affordability was a big part of the election in 2021 for governor. The governor talked about affordability in his budget address. He talked specifically about tax rebates for both homeowners and renters. A, what is it? B, is it doing enough?
Well, I think the affordability conversation begins and ends with property taxes. I think for all of us in the state who've been around a long time and have tried to wrestle with this issue, we just haven't done enough. And what the governor is proposing is to repurpose some additional funds along with the existing homestead rebate program, which will be phased out into a new program, to bring money back to residents and try and make sure that they can get their arms around the challenges we have with affordability in our state. I think that's just the first thing, though. I think all of us need to double down and redouble our efforts, in fact, to actually address this issue more systemically, not just by returning money just in the form of a check one time per year, but looking at the cost drivers to our government and trying to be responsible and make sure that we can actually afford the services that we think all New Jerseyans want. And be honest with New Jerseyans that they cost a significant amount, and start prioritizing what we're getting the biggest bang for our buck for.
Yeah, Senator, I appreciate you saying prioritize, and I appreciate you saying let's be candid with taxpayers, citizens, voters, dare I say, about the price it takes, what it costs to provide the services they're getting. Do you actually believe that such an honest conversation can take place where people can be told, if you want the so-called Cadillac, if you will, whatever it is, it's going to cost more, including local school districts, local police chiefs, local fire departments, local everything, no consolidation, no mergers, no sharing of services. This is what it's going to cost. Because I haven't heard that conversation.
Well, as you know, there's a lot of cynicism in government, and there's a lot of cynicism in our world today because, you know, government has talked a good game, to be frank, and we haven't always delivered on those promises. But to your point, I don't think we've ever sat down and had that honest and very candid conversation about what drives expenses in our state, and then collectively working together, not chasing one electoral victory or the next from either political party, but really trying to come together and say, all right, no sacred cows. Let's have the discussion about what we can solve and how we need to actually solve this problem once and for all. That, I think the public is open to that conversation. What becomes the important part is the messengers who are doing it cannot come to that conversation with a political agenda just to one-up themselves over the next electoral cycle. We have to be honest with the citizens of this state. And if we do that and have that honest, candid conversation, I think they'll be receptive to what the outcome is.
Senator Singleton, let me try this. You've been very committed to the issue of safe and clean drinking water. What exactly does that mean beyond caring? What specifically in terms of policy are you working on?
Well, we were fortunate enough to pass last year what we believe is landmark legislation that will provide the process and tools necessary to remove lead piping all throughout the state of New Jersey. That effort has been bolstered by our colleagues on the federal level through the federal infrastructure legislation that was passed under President Biden that will provide financial resources to the state to effectuate that process. Already right now, Mayor Baraka and the city of Newark, they've been champions and leaders on this effort in removing lead piping from their community. And most older communities, no matter where they're at in their state, face the same challenge. Now we've created a framework and a process to allow an inventory of those lead pipes. And now we'll also have the resources to be able to finally remove them and take away the challenges that come with developmental disabilities from water flowing through these pipes and ending up for children to drink. These are the things that we have to try and combat and address. And now we have a means to do it, both a process and the financial resources.
Senator, was that in connection also, was that part of the reason why Vice President Kamala Harris came to New Jersey to talk about this issue? Is that in connection to what you're talking about?
Absolutely. I think the vice presidents recognized the leadership of Mayor Baraka, Governor Murphy, and those of us in the legislature who stood at the forefront in getting this done. And I'm excited that she thought us worthy enough to be there to amplify that work. And we look forward to getting the work done.
Senator, let me ask you this. Members of Congress, members of the state legislature people in public life I've asked this question of, and I'm going to ask it of you. There'll be a graphic on the screen that talks about our ongoing series, Democracy at a Crossroads. Here's the question. January 6th means what, not just then, but a year past January 6th. Why is it so important?
It's important because I think it turned almost a looking glass into our nation as to how partisan, how disconnected to our basic tenets of democracy we have become. And when you've had this climate of misinformation consistently being spread, I think the fundamental tenets of our democracy are still at stake, just as they were that day on January 6th. So for those of us who believe in civic education, creating a foundation to make better citizens, better, more educated voters, that's the effort that I've tried to lead in the legislature as we've passed civics education to going through our middle school and high school levels, and we're working through for our colleges as well. We think it's important that we have a more educated citizenry that just doesn't regurgitate talking points on either side of the political spectrum, but are able to discern for themselves what is actually in front of them and recognize their key role in our democracy.
Senator, we had your colleague, two of your colleagues, but particularly Senator Anthony Bucco, a Republican, who came on and said, look, climate change is real. It's a problem, but the governor's energy master plan, which has been in place for 2+ years, we don't know what it's going to cost. And he is very concerned. He said approximately $20,000 plus to every family, if you will, of four per se, that it's going to cost too much. And we don't really know what it's going to cost. And the governor hasn't been public about what it's going to cost. Do you buy into the argument that we can't move forward on the governor's energy master plan to move away from our traditional sources of energy to more alternative sources? Long-winded question, I know, until we know, quote, exactly what it costs.
I think there's two sides to that coin. And my friend and colleague, Senator Bucco, is right. It isn't coming upon the governor to tell us how much the energy master plan costs. But equally as important, that needs to be compared to what is the cost of inaction. What is the cost of us doing nothing to our environment, to the way of life, the quality of life we have here in New Jersey? So I'm all for a full accounting of what the energy master plan will cost for New Jersey taxpayers and businesses. But at the same time, we also have to look at, if we do nothing, what will that cost us as well? And that's a fair comparison for us to look at and make that determination, again, being candid with voters, what we can accomplish and what we should accomplish to avoid the catastrophe if we do nothing with climate change.
State Senator Troy Singleton, he is the majority whip in the Senate for the Democratic Party. Senator, I want to thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve.
I'm Steve Adubato. That is Senator Singleton. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
It only gets better when we stand together to tough through and get by. Even though it's harder than ever, we're gonna make it. Long as we don't break it, just do right. There's no sides. We must know it's part of forever. It only gets better.
Also brought to you by the Russell Berry Foundation, making a difference. Veolia, resourcing the world. New Jersey Sharing Network. The Turrell Fund, supporting Reimagine Childcare. The New Jersey Education Association. The Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, moving the region through air, land, rail, and sea. Kane University, where cougars climb higher. Englewood Health, and by the Adler Aphasia Center,